Are you there? Personally, I'd say I've not like completed the entire, or achieved my goals, the entire goals I had for the first half of the year, but at least I'm somewhere. Question is, are you there? If not, you still have time. You shouldn't give up. Simba, have you maybe achieved some of the goals you had set for the first half of the year?
What are you saying now? We're on the way there. We're on the way there. They say every day is for the living. You keep on pushing for it. And every day at a time. Here's the thing, we have a jam-packed session for you here today on the Morning Drift. Guess what? We have reporters who are going to go on the ground today and give you live coverage of the Labor Day celebrations. They're happening where, by the way? Uhuru Gardens, isn't it? All right, our reporters will be on the ground giving you those live events, and we shall be talking to them throughout the entire of this program as well, just to keep us up to speed on exactly what it is that we expect from the ground right here in the studio as well. We shall be talking matters labor and whatever it is in as much as employee affairs in this country are concerned, or labor affairs in general. Now, Keitany, just before we look at exactly what is happening on the newspapers this morning, I want to ask you a question. That it is the right of your employer to make sure that, number one, you are not discriminated at work under any basis, religion, gender, or whatever it is that you might have as a person. Or number two, listen, the law is quite clear. Offer a reasonable working condition. Now, Keitany, could you confirm that right here on Lookuptv we have a reasonable working environment and you're quite happy with whatever it is that we work with around here on our station?
Well, it's safe to say I am contented with the working conditions here at Lookuptv. Everything is okay. Everything is perfect. And by the way, that should be the case.
Pretty much.
It is the job of the employer or the appointing authority to ensure that at least workers in their place of work, different places of work, do have a good working environment.
I call it a reasonably good working environment.
Yes.
I mean, you can't get everything. It cannot be 100%, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. So, Keitany, just before we shift then into what is happening on the newspapers this morning, I've been hearing people sort of saying that Keitany ni wakina nabii. Have you reported them?
Well, I wouldn't say much about it.
I had that statement. I
mean, it's I'd say
that is discrimination. It does qualify for that. You do know that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. Not completely.
So you planning to report one of the guys in the studio to the HR?
Not really. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. It's not advisable to do that. But
discrimination against whatever basis. I will tell you that.
Don't put me in the spot.
All right, no, I will not do that. Yes. Anyway, here's the thing. We are online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Keitany, where you are?
At Keitany across all social media platforms.
The hashtag is the Morning Drift, by the way. All right, at this time, let's then jump into whatever it is that you're waking up to this morning in terms of your newspapers. And Keitany, I do have the Standard right here with me. And this is a headline that we essentially are going to talk about for the entire of our conversations right here in the morning. The headline you're waking up to this morning on the Standard, they're calling it, it's a dog's life for many employers. And this is the kicker, that on Labor Day today, whereas many Kenyans are jobless, those in employment have little to smile about, with a high cost of living pushing a big number into poverty with no end in sight to poor remuneration. Now, here's the thing. The numbers here that you really have to look at. Employed, as of 2021 year end, that is 17.6%, 2022, 18.4% of the entire the population. Unemployed, then we're talking about 2.7% or 2.9%. And by the way, when we're talking about employment here, we're talking about those ones who are in an active revenue generating activity. All right. If you look at the underemployed, and we're going to define exactly what the underemployment is this morning in our conversation here, talking about 1% in 2021 and 0.9% in 2022. under long-term employment in the Kenyan population, and that's where it really starts to meet the road. It is 0.64% and 0.62% in 2021 and 2022 respectively. Now, youth not in education, employment or training, completely out of that sphere for getting a job, all right, an official job. 3.8% in 2021 and 3.4% in 2022. Now, persons who are generally out of the labor force, like you can't work, or they've not essentially got a job completely, 9.5% of the Kenyan population in 2021, and in 2022 we are talking about 9.6. By the way, these are the numbers from the Labor Department. So if you want to confirm that, you can actually go online, and that story has been covered on pages 6 and 7. Keitany, that yes, it's a dog's life for many employees. You agree?
Well, it's always a struggle here in the country, because you hear employees talking about tough working conditions, the economy is high, the cost of common commodities are skyrocketing. So I'd really agree with what the Standard are talking about over there. Yes,
pretty much. But let me ask you a question here. They're talking about underemployment. Unemployment, essentially people who've qualified for that job, but whatever it is they're taking home is not essentially what they should take home. Upon your
it's a very huge percentage, by the way, in the country. If it cuts across board, over 60%
does it,
are not contented with
they're
what
not
they get, because
with exactly what
the cost of living in the country is something that has been talked about many times. And even, by the way, even as we await the return of Azimio Lomoja into the streets for the anti-government demonstrations, one of their key concerns is the high cost of living, and what employees get in terms of their pay, and does it equate to the state of economy in the country? If today I get paid, let's say 25,000, with the cost of living, can I survive? Can I provide for my family? That is the biggest question.
That's the question, isn't it? Underemployment, people feeling that they're not well remunerated for those jobs that they're doing. Now, here's another story here that we got to talk about, even as we then talk about Labor Day issues within the country. Now, we do know that the Azimio la Umoja coalition did threaten that they will be starting their demonstrations immediately after today, which is essentially tomorrow. Now, this is a story that we're going to read on to page 8 of the Standard, and this is what they're saying: we don't need NORD to protest. That is according to Raila Amolo Odinga. I'll just give you a kicker here. Azimio leader protests will go on in spite of ban by police. President William Ruto berates them not being sincere in their push to negotiations and says there's no room for them in his government. Here's the thing, Keitany.
Yes.
The right to picket and demonstrate is provided for in the Kenyan Constitution. I did see Edwin Sifuna tweet about that yesterday, that we indeed did inform you way earlier that our demonstrations are going to start on the 2nd. Yes. You had the president speak over this weekend saying that I'll show you I'm the president now.
Commander-in-Chief, like I said, yes.
Just because we did agree to talk doesn't mean that you can actually go back to the street and continue mischief. Here's the thing. They've threatened it. They're going to go about it. And it's just for us to see exactly how the government is going to react. Yesterday, you did see Nairobi police post also saying, well, demonstrations are illegal, and as far as we are concerned.
I think the biggest question is it peaceful? Because everybody's, allowed to picket at whatever time, regardless of whatever you're picketing about. But the biggest question is, are the demonstrations peaceful? Are you, are making the surrounding of those who are going about their businesses difficult? Can people run their businesses? Can people engage in their own daily activities without disruptions? That is the biggest question. It being peaceful is the biggest question here.
That's it. There's a story. We're also looking at this one that has been developing, and we shall be keeping a tabs on this one, by the way, for the entirety of tomorrow. Shall be giving you those reports on these threats that have been made by the Azimio coalition. They've said they're going back to the streets. And that is exactly what their leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, affirmed once he jetted into the country from his trip in Dubai. Now, here's the thing. This is a story that you've been on, Keitany, by the way, for quite some time now.
Yes.
The Shakahola incident. And now there's another one that has been linked onto that, this one by Pastor Ezekiel as well. This church also got closed just last week. Here's the thing. Now, the government has moved to regulate churches. Now, this is what they're saying, and this is a story you're going to read on page 5. The President William Ruto now says he will form a commission of inquiry to probe the Shakahola killings and also recommend ways to rein in bogus preachers. That's the story you're going to read on page 5. And by the way, on page 4 as well, the same story has been covered on the Standard. And this is what they're saying. This is one of the testimonies that now we're starting to get as Pastor Ezekiel's case continues. So they're saying, Mock Boss is saying that we did indeed collect bodies from Pastor Ezekiel's church. Oof. Quite some evidence right there, Keitany, isn't it? It's a story that you've been on, by the way, and I don't know why you're given that story specifically from the newsroom.
It's because I'm deep into matters religion.
Okay,
that's the reason. That is the reason. But as well, up to now, over 110 bodies have been exhumed from the shallow graves of Shakahola. And like I said, it is very, very sad because in some instances you find like 5-6 bodies inside one grave, and over 44 people have been rescued. And actually the same story is on the Daily Nation as well. They say cult of death, controversial Bible verse, fight for church, and Pastor Mackenzie's run-ins with the police. This is a man who's not shy of controversy. He was arrested on March last month, on 17th 2023, and he was released on a cash 10,000 bail after he was accused of advising two children to fast to death so that they could meet Christ. So this is a man who's been on the limelight for the wrong reasons for a very long time, and up to now is still under police custody, of course, awaiting to appear before a judge because investigations are ongoing. And for Pastor Ezekiel Odero, that is of the New Life International Church in Mavueni, Kilifi County, is expected to appear in court tomorrow for the bail ruling. The judge is expected to rule as to whether Pastor Ezekiel will be held for 30 days like the state wanted. So it is a story that we're following up for you just to give you the finer details of what is going on. And as well, the Interior CS, that is one Kithure Kindiki, is expected to tour Kilifi County today to at least oversee what is going on there, because yesterday the Kilifi Senator, that is Stuart Madzayo, was asking Kindiki for more security officers to help in overseeing the exhumation exercise. As well, the exercise has been sort of affected by the heavy rains in that area, so the number of bodies being exhumed were, a bit low, but they're hoping that the rains can stop and then the exhumation exercise can continue. Simba?
That majority of those cases that we've seen right there, Keitany, are from kids, isn't it?
Yes.
60% of the bodies that have been recovered.
And by the way, there's also 31 people were rescued in a cult in Nakuru. 31. Of the 31, 17 are children.
They're kids.
Yes.
All right.
So it's a sad state of affairs, really.
Yeah, sort of pointing out to whatever it is that we're talking about here. It could be now a case, isn't it? Because those are minors, and they were detaining minors then. Essentially, minors have no will, isn't it, according to the Kenyan law? Those are people that should be protected.
That is my biggest concern, actually, because if for a grown-up person, you might maybe say, maybe they had the chance to maybe think otherwise. But for a kid, for you to convince a kid to go to forgo food so that they can dare and meet Christ, that's absurd,
it is
to say
absurd.
the least.
It is absurd.
Yes.
It's a case that we're following. Is that it from the Daily Nation this month?
It's more of the same, just the same stories. But there's a concern here for parents because they say paying for parents, as university fees are set to be increased in the country. Simba, I don't know. Okay, I'm not in a position to talk about the pain for the parents will feel because I'm quite a, like Simba says, I'm a senior bachelor for that case. But it's quite a pity as well because the cost of education in the country is a bit so high, and it's. On top of the tough economic conditions and the tough economic times in the country, the skyrocketing prices of common commodities, they still have to go an extra mile to at least ensure that their kids get proper education by, getting them to school. But now the cost of, the fees, the school fees, not only for university students, but as well for, secondary school students and even those in primary school, the cost of education is getting even higher, so which proves to be quite a stumbling block in ensuring that at least your kid goes to school and gets proper education and, eventually get a proper future.
I'm telling you that, man. All right, some of these stories, by the way, have been covered heavily on our social media platforms. That is a Lookuptv across all of them. And online, www.lookuptv.co.ke. Once you're there, by the way, a subscription and like is exactly what we'd appreciate now. We take a tiny little breather right here. Once we come back, Ian Keitany will be taking you straight to the newsroom so that we can actually get to see some of the biggest stories that you're waking up to this morning. Good morning.
man, a symbol of strength, power, and leadership.
What does it take for a man to meet society expectations of provision and leadership?
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, lazima ukija kuwa lazima uwe ni provider, wewe ndio unatoa kila kitu.
In our weekly episode of Born a Man,
kusurvive kwa shule ilikuwa ni noma. Yeah, getting something to eat, but especially in my last 2 years ilikuwa ngumu sana.
Moving from State House Road to Kahawa Ndani, where now they came back to be hosted.
We embark on telling stories of what it takes to become a man in today's society, like it has never been told before.
I know men, we are cowards. Because tunaambiwa watu wakiiga kufa kimwanaume, that's nonsense.
This is the life of a man.
Usiwahi cheza na mboga yangu. Na unafuata nani? Usisikwale ukinifuata. Nimekwambia una shares kwa hii kuku. You got the roof, man.
Hebu kwanza rudi ndani ufresh hiyo choo na make sure umespray.
Juli, kwani wewe? Hii tumbo yako mimi najua inaweza ingiza kila kitu. Hata chuma nikishiaga nikupea hata plastic najua utakula. Kwani leo kunaendaje? Kuna kitu sielewi.
Kabisa Mluya. Yaani umeamua kulala uchi.
Sasa kama hakuna ile nguo inanitosha unataka nifanye aje?
Because you are fat.
Sasa ukiongelea mimi ati fat. Na Julie tutasemaje?
Kuja.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray. Pray.
Utachagua sura au tabia unapotaka kumchumbia mwanamke?
Anaweza kuwa mrembo lakini hana tabia.
Naweza jifanya ndio hata kama hapa sitapata, nipate kwa tabia.
Ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba wanaume wengi, hata wale ambao wanatutazama wakati huu, ni sura inawavutia mara ya kwanza.
Ukiona mwanaume anasema ule dem ako poa, ule dem, hafikirii future na huyo dem. Huyo mwenye ako poa anapendeza, anakaa vizuri,
wacha kutudanganya.
Wajua waweza kuwa na tabia nzuri lakini ikabadilishwa na hali. Kanisani wanja ndugu yangu waimba kwaya, wakishuka wakipanga masika na hao ndugu hawachukui.
Lazima nikae na wewe kwa muda fulani. Nikusome, nikujue kindani sana.
Kuna uchunguzi wa aina mbili ndugu yangu, kuna uchunguzi wa polisi na wa CID. Kama kuna mtu ambaye ana ujuzi wa hali ya juu ya kujifanya na kukusoma akili yako na kukufanya wewe uamini kile unachotaka kutoka kwake, ni mwanamke.
Karibu sana mpenzi mtazamaji. Leo ninakualika kwenye mkahawa wa Epitome Zinc, Savo Road lililoko jijini Nairobi.
Ukiingia ndani utahudumia kwa haraka na chakula yetu ni moto. Chakula yetu, service yetu iko very excellent.
umebebea.
Hapa kazi tu yo yo.